Well, good evening, everybody. And we had to skip our last Friday night live stream because we were sailing and decided to do a shortish, hopefully shortish, live stream today instead. And as we all know, there have been terrible things going on in Charlottesville, Virginia, and a terrible tragedy. A woman got killed by a car.
Yeah, and also somebody sprayed dye whites dye.
So, as like online activists and in that way representatives of the nationalist community, and of course as decent human beings, we felt that it was necessary for us to make our strictest, strongest condemnation of everything that was going on in Charlottesville. And of course, everything, except for a few things. These are the list we don't condemn, but otherwise everything. So here are the exceptions. White supremacy, white nationalists, the far right, the alt-right, the alt-knights, the Proud Boys, the American Vanguard, the KKK, Dr. David Duke, National Socialism, fascism, racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, bigotry, hate, tiki torches, James Field, Dodge Challengers, Team Privilege, Donald Trump. So other than that, we are strongly condemning.
Yeah, the tiki torches. This is the first time that the fake news doesn't spread fake news. It is true that white nationalists used tiki torches to light up the march, but is this bad? I don't know. Apparently, it's cultural appropriation, but I don't know why they whine about that. What kind of torches should they have used?
Yeah, and they were talking about that on Finnish media too, like this Finnish big leftist newspaper, that it's somehow like contradictory for these people to use tiki torches. And I don't understand, because they say that, okay, these people want to basically kill all people who are non-white. So there's a contradiction. But okay, these people like don't want to kill. Like all of these contradictions and all of these weird claims they make are based on straw men. Like this weird idea these people have of ethno-nationalists or white nationalists.
Well, probably we will be focusing our live stream on the reaction or on the latest Donald Trump press conference, but still we need to establish the facts. The thing was that the media, as usual, portrayed the event completely falsely. There was this torch march on Friday, the 11th, and one day later there was the Antifa Black Lives Matter riot, in which the leftists attacked the people who wanted to protect the Robert E. Lee statue. And if you haven't watched it on YouTube and you believe what the mainstream media tells you, you will not be aware of what the true situation is, because there's the reality, and then there's the mainstream media telling some shit, which is their fantasy. And I think it's important to focus on the facts that this was not the first time that some people gathered in Charlottesville, Virginia, to protect or to protest the removal of the statue in that park. I think this was the second or maybe the third time, I'm not sure, but at least the second time. And this time they got a lot more people, because was it in May, there was only the KKK, and even in that event, there was lots of protesters, people just chimping out that they are just shouting over the people who try to speak, because this last Saturday event was a completely different event. There were many speakers scheduled, such as Baked Alaska, Robert Spencer, and Richard Spencer, and many other. It's almost midnight. We had another live stream today in Finnish, and a bit tired. So the thing is that every time normal people want to speak, they bring these idiots to shut it down, and they do not let normal people speak. And that's why we want to give an input on the situation. And this
happens in Finland all the time, that whenever nationalists hold big events, these guys, the leftists, they show up to bother us. And instead of just having their own events in which they talk about their own issues, they just come to bother us instead. And usually the cops, of course, allow them to do it. And if some trouble comes, of course, the nationalists are blamed. And we had an event like this in Finland last September, when a nationalist demo was held in Helsinki in front of a shopping mall. And Younes was actually there. And there, the nationalists had made the notification of their demo. It was completely legal. Everything was going according to plans. They had held speeches. Younes was going to play some music in there. And it was all going completely peacefully. But there was a group of counter-protesters, or that's what they like to call themselves. So this demo without notifications to the police officers, and they were just yelling in there, blowing into whistles, and doing whatever they can to make a nuisance of themselves. And when
and that was my plan, because I had been in many demonstrations in 2015, and I knew that the people would be against. We got 20 Norwegian krona in the super chat. Thanks. Sweet Speaks. I've seen a few of your videos. Nice. This was at the shopping mall, and I had a friend who helped me, and he brought a good sound system with 3 kilowatts of power, so we could really put music on a really loud level.
Completely normal music, like the Beastie Boys, Johnny Rebel.
I had some
segregation wagon.
I had lots of music. Actually, the playlist is public on YouTube, and there was the Beastie Boys and Frank Zappa, "Fuck Yourself," and so on. And the leftists didn't know how to react. And I also played some, what was it, Chubby Checker, "Let's Twist Again," and Sugar Sugar, and all kinds of music just to fuck with their minds. But the police, at one point, when I was starting to play a bit from Eagles of Death Metal, the track that was playing when the ISIS attack happened in Paris, and I was speaking on the microphone, and while the music played, I just told that this band got attacked in Paris. Please have a minute of silence. And the police tells me that, yeah, you have to stop. In Finland, you don't need a permit to hold a demonstration, but you have to notify them. Or
it's not necessary to notify them, but the cops. But it's like good manners to notify them.
But when this event happened, it was actually the September the 11th last year. It was a Sunday, and I don't know, but the reason the police wanted me to stop was that they had to have a massive presence because of the anarchists or the communists that wanted to attack us. So they had to hold them back. But I told them, put them to jail, get them out of here. They don't have a permit. They have no reason to be here. We are having our event here. But the police told me, yeah, but they have the freedom of speech and so on. So if they have freedom of speech, why does the police stop our event? I don't know. But this was just a small note.
But I was surprised to see it happen in the United States, because in Finland we are used to dealing with shit like that from the cops and the officials. But in the United States, usually free speech is taken so seriously that I didn't think they would dare to do that. Of course, the leftists want to do stuff like that everywhere, but I didn't think they would dare to try to stop illegal protests.
And in fact, they did, because the organizer Jason Kessler, he had been talking with the officials since May or June, and he was in the city council of Charlottesville, but his talk was disrupted with people chanting "fuck white supremacy" and so on. And he, in another interview, he tells that he had a good connection with the police, and they had plans and so on. But 1 week before the event, one unelected city official told that it's shut down, but a federal judge told that it's okay to have the demonstration there. But the local police did not follow the orders, and because of the leftist city council and the bullshit that is happening in that small university town. And that's they tried to shut it down, but they couldn't. There was the federal judge.
Yeah, but there isn't much point in us going through every detail. Most likely people have heard of it, or they can find the information.
But this
because it's such a long story to go through all of it.
Of course. So,
but one point that I found interesting about all this was, of course, the Donald Trump comments and the response to them. Because the reason I named the live stream as I named, because somebody seemed to think that it's because I want this video to get approved by YouTube. And I have videos called things like Friday Night Hate Speech with Uncle Tom, or slavery reparations, nigger please. So no, I don't really care if YouTube approves my videos or doesn't. And it usually doesn't even seem to have much of an impact what sort of a name the video has. It seems to be completely random what they demonetize or take down. And the reason I named this live stream as I did is that these condemnations and demanding them, they are a complete trap. And regardless of the situation, no matter what has happened, you should never get involved in it, because there's no winning. As Donald Trump said today on Twitter, there's nothing he can say that would please the leftists. If he would condemn, if he had straight out condemned the far right and white supremacy and all that, they would have called him a hypocrite. They would have said, okay, but these are your supporters. They would have taunted him about it. And if he doesn't condemn them, then they say, okay, you are giving silent consent to these extremist groups. So there's no pleasing them. They always find some way to be dicks about it, whatever you say.
Yeah, like if he had acted like the governor of Virginia or the mayor of Charlottesville, saying some complete nonsense as if he had only read the mainstream media. But in his press conference yesterday, he just said that he has looked into the matter better than the fake news outlets, and he completely mastered the thing, and he just showed that how well informed he is, because he could have made the mistake that as the others, but it's as if he's as well informed as all the 4chaners or people online are. But the other politicians, they just went with the flow with the mainstream media. The mainstream media says that they were white supremacists or Nazis, neo-Nazis, and the others were, we condemn it. But were there any neo-Nazis? I think there was one guy holding a Nazi flag.
And one guy had some T-shirt with a quote from Hitler on it.
Yeah, but does this mean that they are Nazis, or are they just trying to provoke people? Nobody knows. Nowadays, even if you have a Pepe the Frog flag, it's considered as Nazism. So why not have a swastika? Why not?
Of course, it can be just provocation, but my point is that it doesn't matter what has happened and who these people are. Of course, I know there must be at least some really, really hateful people, some people with views I would completely disagree with, but that's not the point. The point is not to step in a trap and don't start condemning shit, because you're not going to win anything with it. You're just going to look foolish. You're going to end up on your knees and slapped in the face, because they are going to be, the leftists and everyone, they are going to be complete cunts about it, no matter what you are going to say. And if you start condemning and begging for their approval, you just lose your dignity in the process. But if you just shut up and don't condemn anything, or don't comment on it, you at least have your dignity.
And if somebody should be condemned, it's the alt left, the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter, because they were the violent people there. Had they not been there, there would not have been any violence. They would have held their speeches, marched, and that's it.
And what's the point of condemning something like pretty much all people condemn, like driving over people with a car?
No,
like what's the point in that? But on the other hand, we have this entire wave of leftist violence that's not just in the US, but it is also here in Europe, and it goes completely unchecked. Like, how many leftist mainstream politicians condemned what happened in Berkeley or what happened in Hamburg or the Inauguration Day riots? No, they don't get into that business.
No, but I watched the footage. I watched many videos from Charlottesville, and I noticed that the only people attacking other people were the Black Lives Matter guys or the Antifa guys. So if I had to comment on the violence, I would say that why are these counter-protesters hitting people there? Okay, they are Nazis, blah, blah. So what? The fact is that the violence came from the anti-racist, whatever they want to call themselves. We got 50 kronas more from Sweet Speaks.
I will chip in a little more. Met with Suomi Ensin, that's Finland First, the organization, when I was in Helsinki in June. Then they were chased off the street by police. Yes, I know that happens, and they actually get arrested a lot too. Like, the cops are completely crazy on persecuting them.
In June, which event was that?
I don't know. It must be the Suomi-Maidan.
No, there's been many events in Helsinki in which they were persecuted by our very fine police force.
Well, some of them get arrested almost on a daily basis, and the cops are on them all the time, as if the police officers in a big city don't have anything better to do. They just hang around these completely peaceful right-wing protesters.
They want to arrest me because I subtitled a video from a Suomi Ends in Finland First event. 1 year ago, I subtitled it.
And they want to interrogate me because I called a leftist woman an idiot.
Yeah. So what did you mean by... when you call that idiot an idiot, what did you mean?
Had I known this, that she was going to file a police report, I would have called her so much worse. But I was trying to be polite, so I only called her a traitor and an idiot.
Yeah, and there's one guy commenting that the mayor of Charlottesville was immediately accusing Trump about the events. Yeah, that's also funny because what has Trump to do with some local events? It's not his fault. The fault was on the local politicians, the city council, the local police, and those people. If they had done their job, there would not have been the car crash.
And it's interesting to see the general reaction in the media to everything, all these comments Trump has made, because first the problem was with Trump condemning too much violence, that he said he condemns all hate, all bigotry, all violence. And apparently that was too much. Like, he should have limited it to just the right wing. He should have just pretended as if there was no left-wing violence in there. And then he took it back a little, said that, okay, racism is evil and things like that. And then today he sort of found his groove again and stood up for what's actually true in the case, that, yeah, it was the leftists who initiated violence, and that there's no way to say that they were innocent to all this. And even the media, of course, knows this, because nobody, even in the Finnish media, which is very left-wing, they aren't trying to call Trump a liar on this. Nobody in the media is saying that Trump is lying when he's accusing the leftists. They are simply going with that it's inappropriate to call the left out because the woman who died was a left-winger. So, and that's exactly the argument Marco Rubio made on Twitter, that he obviously knew the facts of the case, that it was the left-wingers who initiated the violence, and that it was completely their fault that they came crashing to someone else's event and started beating the shit out of people. Of course, violence will come if you do that. And he, of course, seemed to know that those are the facts, but he said something that Trump should still place all of the blame on the nationalists, even though they aren't fairly to blame. Because National Socialism is some sort of a great evil, and we must make sure that it will never happen again. But does this guy remember who's on the other side, that they're communists, like communism with a death toll of like 100 million people on several different continents? Like, isn't that evil? Like, is that something we should want in today's society?
And also, we don't know if the car attack was deliberate, or was it, what was behind it?
Because it seems so crazy for it to be terrorism, because there were people with like automatic rifles in there. Like, if somebody would want to kill people, and it's Virginia, so I assume it's pretty easy to get guns. So if you want to kill people, there most likely are easier ways to do that. And then the situation, it just didn't seem like he was trying to run people over. He even seemed to slow down in the end.
Yeah, if you look at the one video, first his car is driving fast, but as he goes along the street, it's slowing down, and it's why would have he used his own car to run into people and not a bigger truck? Why would he risk a life sentence for a few idiots? And also, the car crash thing happened after the event was cancelled and so on. So it's, of course, it's not okay to run over people, but was it deliberate? We don't know, and it will be published after the interrogations at the police and so on.
And the Swedes speaks put 20 more Norwegian crowns in the socialism and Islam are the greatest evils. I pretty much agree. And one comment says something that came to my mind as the first thing of this incident, that his car was attacked and he panicked, because it looked like to me like he was panicking that these people were coming in front of him. And how can you tell like peaceful demonstrators in a situation like that from dangerous people? They are all mixed together. Like they weren't just peaceful protesters in that group. They were Antifa there. There were Black Lives Matter people in that very same crowd he hit. So there's no separating, okay, these guys are peaceful, these are not. So there's no way to tell who is dangerous. Or so it's completely understandable that someone would panic in a situation like that. And we saw what these people did in Berkeley, because in Berkeley there was this very similar situation. In Charlottesville, they were walking down this street and chanting, "Whose streets? Our streets." And they did the same exact thing in Berkeley. And while they were doing that, they stopped cars, like random passers-by, who had nothing to do with the situation. They simply had the bad luck to be driving in the street at that time. And they pulled one driver out of his car and hit him. Then they tried to jump on another car and stop it and like attack the car, just because the driver wouldn't do what they told him to do and stop, as if they have the right to command other people on streets. So we have seen how these people can be with even completely random people, like, and these were random passers-by in Berkeley. So if they attack and pull out of cars and beat up drivers who have nothing to do with the situation, what will they do with an alt-right member if they catch him in his car alone?
And on the video, you can see that there are people running after the car, and there's no chance that they saw the collision. They were just running behind him. So it's difficult to know, but it's not sure that it was that he wanted to crash into those people. But we'll know more when the interrogations are over. But I don't see why he would want a life sentence or a death sentence for just getting one random liberal out of the game. But it's also possible that it was deliberate, and that he had planned this. But it doesn't look like.
Yeah, it was so like out of the blue and such an inefficient way to like commit a terrorist attack that it seemed something out of a spur of a moment, like something a person could do while panicking.
Yeah,
and this was a young guy, like a guy in his 20s, and most likely this was the first like real dangerous situation in his life.
Yeah,
most people aren't used to this.
He crashed into a car, and it's like he wanted to escape, but there were other cars in front of him. So it's not like, but we'll see more when it's when the thing is done.
And it's one thing that really bothered me is that there are so many of these right-wingers who are so quick to run to condemn everything when something happens on the right. And you never see leftists do that. Leftists never run to punch left.
You have to wait that the bodies are cold.
Like there is the leader of, is she the leader of the leftist party now, or did she used to be Lee Anderson?
She's the leader, yeah.
Chairman. Yeah, a chairman of a major party, Lee Anderson. When she was asked about left-wing violence, meaning radical leftists, and she's a leftist herself, she said she made excuses for leftist violence, saying that the leftist violence, it's different from the right-wing violence because it's usually targeted towards structures. And she danced around the issue, making all sorts of excuses. So that's how left-wing mainstream politicians, this woman is a parliament member, this is how they react when the, let's say, extreme wing of their own ideology does something wrong. And these people are actually in the wrong. And she defended them. And if right-wingers had the sense to do that, not to, they don't have to accept these people. They don't have to accept their ideology. As I said, I most likely wouldn't agree with a lot of people from this Unite the Right group, but that's not the point. It's not the point whether I like them or whether I agree with them about everything. The point is not to attack them and join the leftists in that attacking them when there is a common enemy for all of us. Like, the leftists don't need any help in attacking the right. I'm not going to help them with that. So I think that's one big thing that the right-wingers could learn from the left, that they should stick together more. And if they can't say anything positive, then at least shut up. Don't bother other right-wing people. Let them do what they do. Don't bug in. And leftists have always had, at least over here in Finland, this very efficient way of organizing everything. They are very good at organizing events. They can create very big public events in a very short period of time. They are good at activating people, getting people to actually show up. And I guess that is largely due to the sort of solidarity they have between them, that they don't bother to argue about small issues. You can see a lot of different left-wing groups in the same rally together. And when it comes to right-wingers, they always seem to find something to argue about. Like, it seems actually a bit absurd at times to see that, okay, we have an immigration issue here in Finland, and we have a clear goal. We need to get the borders closed, and we need to get deportations going. And instead of uniting to do that, to achieve that goal, our own nationalists are arguing over what's going on in Israel. They are arguing over all these things that have absolutely nothing to do with the situation in Finland, and things that are completely out of our hands anyway. They are not our business. There's nothing we can do about it. But these are the issues these people are arguing about, and they are breaking up the nationalist scene with their arguments.
Well, on Monday we had a 2-hour live stream about this Charlottesville thing, and after the thing there was comments because Swan had said something about the difference between Nazis and communism. What
was it that I said?
I cannot remember, but the guy was whining that communism wasn't so bad because if you followed the communist rules, you weren't killed. But in Nazi regime, you could be killed just because of your ethnicity.
Even if you do what they tell you to do. Which makes no sense at all. Like, you understand the logic behind it. Okay, in the Soviet Union, if you just submit and be a zombie, you won't get killed no matter who you are. And that's not even true, because look at the Cultural Revolution in China. People who were rich or educated, they got killed no matter if they submitted to communism or not. And they were the enemy. And the same thing in Russia when the revolution happened. They killed all the officers, they killed all the priests, they killed a certain class.
And what is with these YouTube commenters whining about bullshit that doesn't matter anyhow? It has. What is the use of discussing that shit? None whatsoever. There's absolutely no use of talking about that. It's a complete waste of time to discuss that those matters. And I think the point was that, as many have pointed out, that because it seems that there was at this Charlottesville rally, there was one guy holding a swastika flag. And the point was that, okay, the media is whining about that flag. But in the same time, if somebody holds a communist flag with hammer and sickle, they don't whine about the communist flag, but they will get a meltdown on the swastika flag. Why? Why is that? If the mainstream media accepts the communist flag, why do they not accept the swastika flag? What is so so bad that they want to they want the president to react on that? Why? If there's one guy with a we don't know if he really wants National Socialism, or if his Pepe the Frog flag was in the washing machine, or we do not know. And so what is the problem with this? But if you have one flag which is associated with over 100 million deaths, that's okay. They are good people, they are leftists, they are social justice warriors, they want a better future. But if the guy has a swastika, then we need to call the president. And why? Nobody knows. So I wouldn't carry a swastika, but if someone does, maybe I'll ask, what is your point with that? If it was unite the right, since National Socialism is socialism, which is not the right, it's leftism. You are maybe you should be with the Antifa crew there with your flag.
And these the point with why the media is like that is, of course, that they try to pretend as if it's about values, as if they are against genocide, as if they are against totalitarianism, as if they are against being authoritarian. But of course, they aren't really against those things. They are against the right wing. So that's why they pretend as if they are against those things when they really are just looking for an excuse to criticize the right. That's why there's a double standard. If they actually had some values and backbone with their anti-authoritarian liberal ideology, they would of course condemn all these totalitarian ideologies, and especially one that has such a horrible history, such as communism or socialism. But because it's not about that, they are picking a side. They have picked their side. They are on the left. So they are choosing to apply these moral standards only to the far right, not to the far left. And there are apparently a couple of super chat messages from Sweet Speaks. Socialism always fails. And dear Finland, do not follow the Swedish example. That's exactly what we are hoping for.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the Swedish problem on our Finnish streams.
Because the Finnish media doesn't really talk about it. They just hide it all under the rug. So if Finnish people want to hear about what's actually going on in Sweden, they have to go to the alternative media. And you would think that it's so bad that there's no escaping it, that you would have to hear about the problems. But when the Swedish media, first of all, they choose to be silent about it, and then the Finnish media filters it even further. And they pick and choose only the stories that must be covered, those stories that are so big that people would run into them otherwise too. For example, if there's a particularly horrible gang rape story, like the one in which they did the Facebook live streaming of the rape, or if there's a particularly big rioting, like the one in Rinkeby in, was it April or something?
It was in, I think, January or February.
Oh, it was that. Okay, but anyway, if there's something so big that they know that they sort of have to cover it because people will run into it otherwise too, and then there will be suspicions of why isn't the Finnish media talking about it. Then they will take on the story, but they will have no initiative in covering Sweden. They won't do any expansive analysis on the...
Yeah, they might mention it once in a while that
there are some problems here and there, but you don't see real analysis of the problems in, say, Malmö, of why there is a 550% rise in grenade attacks in just 2 years. Why are the rape stats rising again? Like this year, there's huge rise in the rape stats. And no, they are not talking about things like that. If there is something big, some big event happens, then they might cover it, but they don't talk about statistics or anything they can brush under the rug, they will.
Also, we got $10 from JL with the message, great show and great points. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
There was one, neo-Nazis have a purely negative effect on new nationalistic movements. That's true. That's true. One says that National Socialism is not the same thing as socialism, but it's socialism anyhow. It is socialism, so it's not. It doesn't belong in unite the right. But anyway,
because if you look at, for example, the alt-right, they economically are more compatible with the right. Actually, there was this very long blog post I read today in Finnish about, it was by an economic right-winger, like a fiscal conservative, and he talked about how the alt-right furthers also the economic agenda of libertarians. And so a lot of these other right-wing groups, they actually are more compatible economically with the right than they are with the left. But that isn't true with National Socialists, who want this very protectionist economy very strictly in the hands of the government.
One says that Antifa are sick, violent perverts. You are right. One says that literal grenade attacks in Sweden. That's true also. There's already this year over 50 attacks, and it's, as one said, a massive increase over 500%.
Yeah, grenade attacks, like you wouldn't believe that grenade attacks are actually a thing. They aren't a thing over here in Finland, at least not yet, but of course if we continue on this route they soon will be. Like grenade attacks went normal in Malmö or Stockholm a couple of decades ago, but they are completely normal now.
But as Nebulous Meg says, it's part and parcel of living in a major city. There was another one. Yeah, there was another message, but I didn't. Yeah, socialism can work, but you can't have open borders. Yeah, that's also one point. Because if you have an unlimited supply of people in need, you cannot provide them with taxpayers.
And I think I have some video from, I think, last autumn or something, in which I talk about that because it's funny that it's leftists who are screaming for both of these things, the welfare state and open borders. And they are two things that are completely incompatible with each other. That the welfare state, it of course creates high taxes, which repels work-based immigrants, highly educated immigrants, because they can go to another country to work where there are lower taxes and where they get more money for their work. But the welfare state, at the same time, it also attracts all the wrong people, those who just want to mooch off the system. So if there are open borders, it's a recipe for disaster. Those people are going to keep coming.
And some high-skilled workers might be attracted even if there's a high tax percentage.
Yeah, if there's a high standard of living and stability and things like that.
If it's a quiet and peaceful country. But by keeping the borders open and by making Finland Sweden again, it's not work.
Yeah, like if you were an engineer from the US, would you want to move to, say, Malmö or Rinkeby? No, of course you wouldn't. Like you'd rather move to Syria than those places.
One guy comments that reminder that 2/3 of the world lives off $2 a day. Yeah, that's true. And our immigration policy or our asylum policy is being defended by saying that, yeah, but those people just want a better standard of living. When you watch the Mediterranean stuff and people pouring in, and yeah, they need to have, but the whole world should be let in if we follow that rule. And it's sad, but it's not so bad maybe in those countries. They are still living there. Of course, the main issue is growth. There are too many people breeding there.
And there's some discussion or argument going on in the comment section between people. And there's one question to some other commenter. Do you honestly believe that Somalians are equal to you? That brought to my mind something that that often comes to my mind as a Finnish person. It's a question about language. That when Americans say all people are equal, it's of course completely false statement to begin with, because what the word equal means, it means equal. They should be the same. So no, the genders aren't equal, the races aren't equal, no two people are equal. So that's a stupid statement to make, all people are equal. But in Finnish language, there is a much smarter word for it, what they use instead of equal, or what they use in its place. And it's tasa-arvoinen, which means equal in worth. So you don't have to say people are the same with the same properties, but that they are equal in value. So you can say that, okay, we are all human beings. When we are citizens, we all have the same rights, but you don't have to go as far to say that people have the same properties, or that races have the same properties, that genders have the same properties.
But arvo can also mean worth, so it's equal worth. So
that's exactly what I said.
But you said values. But
yeah, but value, by value I mean worth.
Okay, so there is one idiot writing in Finnish, lol, nice English shit between hippies. Isn't it nice to play a politicians and suck on some weed vaporizer before you talk more low quality English?
I love these people. Like,
Yeah,
they hate us so much, but still they bothered to come to listen to our like fucking live stream in English just to troll us in Finnish. And okay, if our English is bad, please comment at least in English so the other people in the comment section can understand you.
yeah, and make your own
You're
live
basically
stream.
like shouting in the wind, writing in Finnish into the comment section.
In English, you've got a ton of social justice warrior live streams or videos, and you can make video responses to them. But in Finland, we have nobody to respond to. In Finland, you have some makeup videos, some teenager bullshit, or our right-wing racist videos. But there are no leftists on YouTube in Finland. I haven't seen. During the elections, there are some bullshit videos, but
like campaign videos.
Yeah, campaign videos
But they don't need YouTube because they have the entire mainstream media in Finland. So why would they go on YouTube to create their own content when they can just walk into a expensive studio and have their speech broadcasted to 5 million people?
So we make a lot more videos in Finnish, but sometimes we do it in English just to enrich the culture.
Yeah, and our Finnish videos, they are also a lot more versatile, that we make a lot of live streams from different events. For example...
Well, this is live also.
Yeah, but I meant about events.
Yeah.
And for example, the last time we were at the birthday party of the local, this 30-year-old statue in Oulu, the statue of the marketplace police officer, and there was a choir of children singing and all of that. And our audience was just flabbergasted. Like, where's all the hatred and racism? I cannot stand this.
It's like the Statue of Liberty.
Actually, one person said that one person was holding a speech, and when she compared the police statue in Oulu to the Statue of Liberty in New York, I just had to giggle a bit. But at least she has confidence.
Well, it's like the Robert E. Lee statue.
Yeah, I'm just waiting when they decide that the police statue is somehow racist, that it's oppressive against people of color, because the entire statue is black, so it must be racist against someone. And maybe they are victims of police brutality, it offends. So it's just a matter of time before the police gets the news too. And as I said in the beginning, we were supposed to do, of course, our normal Friday night hate speech on Friday, but the last time we had to skip it because, as I mentioned in the video I uploaded last weekend, we got stuck on a small island. We were sailing and we were supposed to continue the trip on Friday, but then a storm broke and we were stuck on the island for like 2 days because it was too windy at the sea. But we had a nice time anyway.
It was good.
I hadn't been sailing, so it was nice change. I almost died on that trip. Like we were barbecuing over here in Oulu before we left for the trip, and our friend made some wonderful Black Angus steak and sausages and things like that. And because it was pretty difficult to cut the steak on the paper plate, it kept falling apart in my lap. I simply cut it in a few bigger pieces, decided that, okay, I can just chew them into smaller pieces. And then I started chewing on something, and I wasn't really thinking about the food. We were talking about something in the middle, and then the piece of steak got lodged in my throat. And I tried to swallow it down, but it just wouldn't go down. And then I tried to cough it up. But of course, I wasn't able to cough it up because no air was moving past it. So I wasn't able to fill my lungs to cough. And at that point, I started to panic a bit when I realized that there's no way for me to breathe. And my friends were completely misunderstanding me. Of course, I could have like gestured to them that I'm joking, but I was too focused on trying to get the piece out of my throat. So they somehow interpreted my coughing and swallowing that there was something wrong with the food, and I was trying to like not puke out of being polite to the chef and say, okay, no, it doesn't matter if you throw up. And I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with the food. It's just stuck in my throat. And then when my breath started really wheezing, or that I really started gasping for air, then they started realizing. But at that point, these friends paralyzed completely. Like they just stared in complete panic. And Younes was the only one to realize to act. And he managed to squeeze the bit out of my throat and get me actually breathing again.
But there's one guy asking why no immigration control in England? Because you vote badly. Enoch Powell was right. You should have listened to him.
And let's see if there's something else in the comment section.
But we were supposed to hold this very short, and it's been 1 hour, but I'm okay with.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe we should see if there's something in the comment section, questions or points that we might have missed or something.
But concerning
someone asks, how many times a day do I have to condemn Nazis?
All the time.
At least if someone is looking. Like if you're at home alone, then you're cool. But as long as somebody's looking, even if you're on the phone, then I guess maybe once an hour, maybe every 2-3 hours, depending on your past. Like, do you have a Nazi background or something, a Nazi grandpa or something? If there's something suspicious like that in your background, it of course shortens the.
There was one good point. I have a friend who makes coins, and you can order these coins. It's this one.
Yeah, in Finland we are celebrating the 100 years of independence for Finland this year. So Finland will turn 100 on the 6th of December. And a friend of ours has designed this, what would you call this?
Memorabilia coin.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A thing like that. About the Finnish famous sharpshooter Simo Häyhä, who was also known as the White Death. And he was one of the best sharpshooters of the Second World War.
Yeah, he killed over 500 Russians. And there's the web page written on there, and I'll put the Wikipedia of White Death. It's this guy. So you can. This dude was born in 1905 and died in 2002. And he was nicknamed White Death, in Russian, Белая смерть. And so there's the Wikipedia page of this guy. But yeah, we have a friend who manufactures these coins, and there's the web page, which is difficult to pronounce, muistokolikot.weebly.com, and from there you can order the coin. It's about 30 euros. So if you're interested, you can buy it.
Yeah.
It looks actually like that.
And Sweet Speaks says that he put 20 more crowns, and he says that he's going to Porvoo on the Independence Day on December the 6th. And we most likely will be going to Helsinki again. Like last Independence Day, we were at the 612 torch procession, which the Unite the Right actually reminded me a lot of. And I think they might have taken some influence from these European nationalists who have torch processions. For example, in Helsinki, we have had those on several different Independence Days, and in Estonia, they like to have those. Is it on Independence Day there too?
I'm not sure, but like
it seemed funny that the Americans were so weirded out by the tiki torches, but over here it's completely normal thing for nationalists to do, to have these torch processions.
Yeah,
and it actually is a great idea because, for example, when we were in Helsinki, and I was at the very front of the procession, like there were around 2,000 people, and I was in the like third row, and I didn't realize there were so many people because when we left the marketplace, you couldn't see the entire crowd, and I'm so small that it's difficult for me to like grasp areas that large, like when there are a lot of people around. And then when we were around halfway through our procession, I stopped to look back because I heard some other people talking about and like gasping, and I then realized that there was this just endless row of torches behind us. Like you couldn't see the end of it, even though you could see hundreds of meters away. And then I realized that, okay, there are much more people here than I expected there to be. And afterwards, it turned out that there were around 2,000 people in there. And the organizers were expecting around half of that, at best.
There might have been 3,000, but the Romanian gypsy V, who makes lots of YouTube videos also, he said that in Greece they have real torches, but there are no Antifa bothering them. They just march with the torches and they go home, and that's it. But in the US they were
and last year there was a pretty little problem with the Antifa, because the year before that there was a lot of trouble, a lot of assaults, a lot of vandalism. So the cops came like armed to the teeth with this. Like there were so much police officers, and they had lined the entire route for the nationalist procession to keep the Antifa out. And the organizers of the event sort of tricked Antifa that they changed the route without making it public. So they were waiting by the wrong route for us.
But they still threw feces at you.
Yeah, like one guy, because he was alone, and these cops, they were waiting for these big masses, and they were keeping an eye on these screaming masses of Antifa and blocking them. Because this one guy was alone, he managed to break through the police lines and charge at me, and he tried to throw a used diaper at me. But he missed, even though he just got like a few meters away from me.
But yeah, one more message about the coin. Wherever you live, you can order it. Our friend can send it anywhere. There's
and he does understand English if you write it to
the order. The order form is a free form. You can contact him, and you can talk to him and so on.
And something actually pretty interesting happened, and Younes's channel was hit by the new YouTube these terms of service. I think you might have heard of the Paul Joseph Watson case, that all of his videos were put at once into this limited state, that they are still basically monetized, but they don't show up on the Reddit list anymore. So most likely advertisers won't be able to find them, and he won't get picked by advertisers no matter how many views he has. So it'll make a huge dent on his income, I think, because a channel that big must rely a lot on the ad revenue. And of course, these new guidelines by which YouTube is choosing which channels to sort of shut down or force down with this extortion method were done in cooperation with the ADL, so the Anti-Defamation League. So naturally, they are attacking only right-wing channels. They are very hardcore leftist channels, very hateful channels that have absolutely no trouble getting monetized, no matter what sort of content they put out. But when it comes to right-wingers, even the mildest content can get blocked. And these, for example, Paul Joseph Watson, he has a lot of material on his channel that's pretty entertainment material, that it's not that political. But no, all of his videos at once were put in that limited state. And for some reason, my channels, both my Finnish and English channel, managed to escape this. At least for now, this hasn't happened to me. And here on my English-speaking channel, I get demonetized the normal way a lot. That they just
if we look at my videos here, this video, this is a phone call. A Finnish police called me. It says this doesn't. This is not suitable to all advertisers. This video was a live stream we did with Swan in Finnish, in which we, how would you describe this one, Kiva puhe?
Well, it's sort of the antithesis of hate speech. Like the Finnish police came up with this campaign called Nice Speech, that instead of hateful things, people should just say nice things. And of course, they were mocked like crazy for it.
What is it in 1984? Good, or I don't know. The next one is, this is also a phone call. There was a Finnish leftist guy who went to Hamburg to burn stuff, and I called him and I asked how it went. This is a live stream where I comment the video of this black German dude, and also the black German dude was demonetized. Here is also a phone call from a police guy. This is a prank call that I got. It's also demonetized. This is complete bullshit. The algorithm that YouTube is using is I'm in the city council, outside the city council for 8 minutes. It's demonetized. Here is also a phone call, demonetized. This is when I was in Brussels, demonetized. Here is Vlad Tepes, the guy who makes lots of subtitles. He interviews me, demonetized. This is a phone call, demonetized. This is a mainstream news outlet, the public broadcast, demonetized. This is a phone call, demonetized. This is it's nonsense. This YouTube bullshit is.
And people are commenting that there are spiders here. No, those aren't spiders. Those are crane flies. And it's pretty hot in here, so we have to keep the door open. But in these autumn nights, when it starts getting dark at night, all these creepy crawlies come out. And crane flies, they are completely harmless. They look like huge mosquitoes. So they are scary looking at first, but they are completely harmless. They just fly around like morons, and they don't bite or anything like that. I just usually try to, like, if one gets in, then shove it a bit further. Look, there's one on the floor. So they are completely normal. I know they are horrific looking, or must be if you haven't seen one before at least, but here they are completely normal. At nighttime they are everywhere. So if you are going to be scared of them, you are going to have to be scared all the time. And they are moths, and they are much more terrible things out there. So there's no point in being afraid of them. And I'm not afraid of bugs anyway. Like, it takes a lot for a bug to scare me, because I've always been a nature person. I like all sorts of animals, and I find bugs pretty interesting. That I think it's only been like once in my life that a spider actually scared me, and it was a really big one that managed to surprise me. And once a big moth managed to scare me when I was a kid, and I didn't realize what it was, and I thought it was some sort of a bird, because it was this really big moth species that I hadn't run into before, that makes this horrific buzzing sound when it flies.
We call them Danny Longlegs in Scotland.
Yeah.
We learn languages doing this.
Yeah, I actually had to Google what that is in English, because I had no idea. You never need words like that. And yeah, and someone else says too that I call them daddy long legs. But I've heard these spider thingies, or the six-legged spiders with the long legs. They are, someone called those also daddy long legs. Are they also, or is it like a dialect thing? But I think it was someone American who called them daddy long legs.
Well, they cannot be spiders if they.
Yeah, but you know, the spider-looking thing is that people always mistake for spiders. I don't know what look is in English.
Well, Loki is a spider.
No, it isn't. Loki has 6 legs.
Okay.
Harvestman. That's what it is in English.
Yeah, so
and they say Tina is correct, the Scot is drunk. So those spider-looking thingies, they are also called that. So, like Angus, you racist.
They are not spiders, they are mosquitoes.
And I don't think there's much more for tonight, and we were planning to keep it short, like 1 hour at max, and we are already 15 minutes past that. So maybe we should call it a night, unless you see something, questions or something.
No, maybe final words on the Charlottesville situation. Donald Trump is right, and mainstream media is wrong.
Well, that's pretty much it.
And I hope that.
I hope we find out soon what really went down with the car incident. Like, I want to hear the guy's side of the story.
Yeah. And I think there'll be other protests in that city. And I hope that the counter protesters will be held away and jailed when they act as they did last time.
Yeah, and
what about the helicopter? Well, they had a helicopter ride.
Yeah, fucking cops, they don't even know how to do that correctly in a far-right event. And of course, we are supposed to have our Friday night live stream, but we won't be home then. So we'll have to either skip it or make some arrangement while we are on the road.
Yeah, no, we can have it, but we'll see.
And of course, we could have it on Saturday if we are in some more suitable place.
Yeah.
But let's see. But anyway, at some point in the weekend, because as I said, we will be on the road, so I'm not sure if we will be able to make it on a Friday night, but on some night. If not Friday, then Saturday or Sunday. But I will time it well beforehand, like a day beforehand or something like that, so that you'll see on this channel when it comes up.
We are going back. You will not replace us. But yeah, it was.
That really reminds me of one comment I saw in the comment section of our Finnish live stream of this Charlottesville incident a couple of days ago. And someone said, these people were chanting, Jews will not replace us. Like, don't they think Jews are white? Like, the way these people had understood the phrase was that as if these right-wingers were meaning that Jews are coming to replace them in masses. And
the Finnish comment section is always full of retards.
Like, it really is pretty hopeless that there are so many left-wingers in there, and then there are these people who are well-meaning, but they just write dumb shit. So this comment section of the English channel, it's so much more hope-giving when it comes to the far right.
The one says that it's a commemorative coin.
Okay, commemorative coin.
But yeah, we'll finish with the picture.
Okay. But thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back at some point during this weekend, and we'll also then explain why we won't be at home.
Yeah, it's
pretty interesting.
It's aika hurja tilanne.
Pretty wild.
Thanks for listening. See you.
Yeah, bye.